Hello and welcome. Welcome to our module on configuring the AWS CloudWatch agent for one of our assets. This will configure that EC2 instance to send its logs to CloudWatch. Please keep in mind that this is not the same as the Level Blue agent. This is the CloudWatch agent that is provided by AWS and is not a Level Blue tool. So what we're going to do is deploy this, but before we can deploy it, there's a couple of prerequisites we must take care of. First, we need to create a role for our EC2 instance that's going to use CloudWatch, and then we need to attach this role to our EC2 instance. After we've done that, then we can install the CloudWatch agent. From our AWS console, the first thing we need to do is to go to the Identity and Access Management dashboard. The IAM dashboard, you can access it here through your recently visited, or you can search for it here in your search bar, or you can access it through your favorites bar. Let's click on that and go down to roles. Here on the top right, we are going to create a new role. It's going to be an AWS service, and the use case is going to be EC2. Scroll to the bottom, click Next. We must attach a permission policy to this role so it has the proper permissions. We'll do a search for CloudWatch Agent and we'll select the CloudWatch Agent server policy and hit Next. We'll give it a role name. Perhaps copy and paste the description. Paste the name and description. Scroll to the bottom and create role. We can see the notification at the top that the role has been created, and we can also see it here. Now that I have that role created, I need to go to my EC2 dashboard and I need to attach this role to that EC2 instance. So I'll go back to my favorites bar in AWS and I click on EC2. Double check that you are in the correct region and click on your running instances. I'm interested in the Linux One asset, so I'm gonna highlight it to select it. And I can change or attach that role in two different ways. I can right click, select security, modify IAM role, or I can go to actions, security, modify role. So I'll click on that. In the instance ID panel, we'll select that role that we created from the list and then update IAM role. So now this Linux One EC2 instance has been attached, the role that we created, to give it the proper permissions to use CloudWatch. Here on the bottom left, we can see that role has been created. Let's now log into our Linux One console so we can download, install, and configure the CloudWatch agent for this EC2 instance. Let's first download the agent with our wget command. And let's verify that download with the ls command there. Let's now extract that package so the files can be placed in the proper folder structure. And to do that, I'm going to need to run it as an elevated permission. So I'm going to use the sudo command to extract that package. So make sure you have the password for that. Before we install the CloudWatch agent, Let's take a look at the configuration file that we will use with the cat command. When we install and configure our CloudWatch agent, we're going to need to configure the default file path, the log group name, and the date format. You can see them listed here in the config.json file that we're going to use. The focus of this training will be on these last two, Linux auth logs and OS query logs. So I'm going to copy this file to my agent's bin directory and change to that folder. So I'll copy that file and I change to that directory. I'm going to clear the screen and type ls to view the contents of that folder. Let's now run the provider script and tell it to use the config.json configuration file as its input. Let's now verify with the status command that it is up and running and configured. And on the left, we can see that it is running and it is configured. Let's switch back to the AWS console and go to the CloudWatch dashboard to see our new log groups. I'll click on CloudWatch here, expand the logs area, and expand the log groups area here. On the right, we can see the two newly created log groups, Linux auth logs and OS query logs. Let's expand the auth logs log group, scroll down, and we can see the log stream of the events that are coming in. So this is coming in from the Linux One machine into CloudWatch because of that role that we created and attached to the Linux machine. Let's go check out our other log group, OS query. You can see the log stream here and the events that are coming in from the Linux One machine to this log group. Very good. Let's go take a look at USM Anywhere and see where this data is coming into. If we go to the events page, we will notice here in the data sources that we do not have any of those Linux data sources. Nor do we have the Linux One machine as the source asset here. The reason for that is because in our sensor details page under the AWS log collection, those log collection jobs are not started. So here I am going to start this Linux auth collection job as well as the OS query CloudWatch collection job. And what this is going to do is in about 5 minutes, we should see those logs that are stored in CloudWatch now being pulled from there and being sent to USM Anywhere. So let's refresh here and come back in a few minutes to see if the events are there. Very good. So I waited a few more minutes, about 5 minutes. So let's refresh the screen. And there it is. If we look on the left side here, we now have Linux cron, OS query, Linux SSH, and Linux systemd. If we go down here to source asset, we can now select Linux One and see all these different events that are coming in from that Linux One machine to the log group and that log collection job, pulling those every 5 minutes to extract this data and put it into USM Anywhere. Thank you so much for watching.